There comes a point in life when the roles between parents and their children quietly begin to change. You spend years raising them, teaching them, sacrificing so they can succeed. But then one day, you notice something shifted. Maybe they stop listening to your advice. Maybe they brush off your opinions. Maybe they even talk down to you, or worse, make you feel like a burden. And that cuts deep. If your grown children have begun treating you with less respect than you deserve, it's natural to feel frustrated or even heartbroken. You might want to remind them of all the times you put them first, all the love and effort you poured into them. But here's something that might surprise you. Anger won't fix it. In fact, it often drives them further away. Instead, there's a much smarter and more effective way to rebuild that respect, without conflict, without yelling, and without bitterness. In today's video, I'm going to share 6 actions you can take when your adult children don't show. Action 1. Stop chasing their approval. One of the most common traps parents fall into, especially as they age, is trying too hard to win over their children. Maybe you found yourself doing it. You constantly adjust to their schedule. Say yes when your heart says no, and put their happiness before your own, hoping they'll finally show appreciation. But here's the hard truth. The more you seek their approval, the less they respect you. That's because respect doesn't come from being overly accommodating. It comes from holding firm to your values. If you're always sacrificing, always giving in, always smoothing things over, you're teaching them, without realizing it, that your needs aren't important. And once they start believing that, it becomes easy to overlook your feelings. Take Sarah, for example, a woman who had always been headstrong in her younger years. But after retirement, she started letting her kids take over everything. She avoided conflict, said little when they spoke harshly, and made her plans around their priorities. "I just want to keep everyone happy," she once told me. But slowly, they started treating her like an afterthought. Not because they didn't care, but because she stopped showing them that her voice mattered. If your kids are acting disrespectfully, the first step is not to argue with them. It's to stop acting like you need their constant approval. Set healthy boundaries. Say no when it matters. Speak honestly, even if they don't want to hear it. Because the moment you show yourself respect, they will start seeing you in a new light. And in time, that respect will return. Action 2. Don't argue. Lead by example. When your children ignore your perspective, talk over you, or dismiss your experiences, your gut instinct might be to push back, to defend yourself, to make them listen. But here's a powerful truth that can save you years of heartache. Arguing doesn't earn respect. Think about it. When's the last time you gained someone's respect by debating them? Real respect doesn't come from loud voices. It comes from quiet strength. It comes from the way you carry yourself, the way you stay calm under pressure, the way you hold your dignity when others lose theirs. If you answer disrespect with anger, you're not gaining ground, you're losing it. I remember Richard, a former principal who had always commanded respect at work. But at home, his adult kids rolled their eyes when he spoke, brushed off his advice, and rarely included him in family decisions. At first, he pushed back, arguing, reminding them he still mattered. But it only led to tension. Then, one day, Richard stopped trying to prove himself. He began listening more. He didn't raise his voice or try to control conversations. He spoke with calm certainty, never defensive, never desperate. Over time, his children began to shift. They saw a man who wasn't looking for validation. He already had it. And slowly, their respect returned. So if your children don't treat you right, don't try to fight them into changing. Show them what self-respect looks like. Carry yourself with grace. Speak with clarity. And most of all, never stoop to their level. Because when you lead with quiet confidence, they can't help but take notice, and eventually, they'll follow your example. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights helpful, comment number 2 below so I know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button and turn on the bell so you don't miss future videos. Now, let's move on. Action 3. Pull back your emotional dependence. One of the hardest truths to accept as you age is that your emotional well-being can't depend on your children. You may love them deeply and want to stay close, but the more your sense of worth hinges on their attention or approval, the more you give away your power. Here's the thing, even your children tend to respect people who are emotionally self-sufficient. When they feel like they're responsible for your happiness, it becomes a weight, and instead of bringing them closer, it can push them away. They may start avoiding your calls, acting impatient, or becoming distant, not out of malice, but because they feel pressured. Take Maria, a devoted mother of 3. As her kids got older and busier, she found herself staring at the phone, waiting for their calls. When they didn't call, she reached out, again and again. She told them how much she missed them, how lonely she felt. But instead of drawing them in, it made them withdraw. Her calls became something they felt they had to take, not something they wanted to. Then something changed. Maria stopped reaching out first. She started going out with friends, joining a painting class, and taking long walks by the lake. She built a life filled with joy, not dependent on anyone else. And something interesting happened. Her kids started calling more often. They began showing up, not out of guilt, but because they truly wanted to be around her. The takeaway is clear. The less you lean on your children for emotional reassurance, the more they'll appreciate your presence. When you build a full, vibrant life of your own, they'll respect you not just as their parent, but as a strong, inspiring individual. And that's the kind of respect that lasts. Action 4. Set boundaries and enforce them. One of the biggest reasons children lose respect for their parents is because the parents let them. If you allow your children to talk to you disrespectfully, dismiss your opinions, or treat you as if your time and feelings don't matter, they will keep doing it. Not because they are bad people, but because people, especially family, will always treat you the way you allow them to. Setting boundaries doesn't mean cutting off your children or creating conflict. It means calmly and firmly deciding what kind of behavior you will and will not accept. And more importantly, it means enforcing those boundaries when they are crossed. I remember a man named James, a retired business owner who had spent his life running a company with discipline and confidence. But when it came to his adult children, he struggled. They interrupted him when he spoke, dismissed his concerns, and even criticized the way he lived his life. At first, he tolerated it. He told himself it wasn't worth the fight. But over time, he realized that every time he stayed silent, he was teaching them that their behavior was acceptable. So one day, James changed his approach. When his son interrupted him, he calmly said, "I'll continue speaking when you're ready to listen." When his daughter dismissed his opinion, he simply replied, "You don't have to agree with me, but I expect you to respect me." And when they continued to push his limits, he made it clear. If they couldn't treat him with basic respect, he wouldn't be spending time with them. And you know what happened? They started listening. At first they resisted, but over time they realized their father wasn't backing down. They saw that he valued himself enough to demand respect, and because of that, they started giving it to him. If your children don't respect you, it's time to ask yourself, are you allowing it? Because if you don't set boundaries, they won't set them for you. And if you don't stand up for yourself, no one else will. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's move forward. Action 5. Stop giving without appreciation. One of the quickest ways to lose respect is to keep giving to people who don't appreciate it. And as parents, we do this more often than we realize. We give our time, our energy, our support, even when it's not acknowledged, even when it's taken for granted, even when we're met with nothing but entitlement. But here's the truth. When you give to someone who doesn't appreciate it, you don't build love. You don't build respect. You build expectation. They stop seeing your kindness as something valuable and start seeing it as something they are entitled to. And the moment you stop, they don't feel grateful. They feel inconvenienced. I once knew a man named Harold, a father who had always been generous with his children. He helped them financially whenever they needed it, dropped everything to assist them, and even rearranged his life to accommodate their needs. But instead of gratitude, he was met with complaints. They didn't say thank you. They expected more. And the worst part? When he finally needed their help, they were too busy. Then one day, Harold made a change. He stopped overextending himself. He stopped offering help before it was even asked. And most importantly, he started saying no when he needed to. At first, his children were frustrated. They didn't understand why he wasn't bending over backward for them anymore. But over time, something shifted. They started valuing his time. They started appreciating his efforts, because suddenly they realized that his generosity wasn't unlimited. It was a gift, not a guarantee. If you feel like your children don't respect your time, your effort, or your kindness, take a step back. Ask yourself, are you giving more than you should? And if so, what would happen if you stopped? Because when you teach people that your generosity is conditional on respect, they will start treating it that way. Action 6. Build a life outside of them. One of the most powerful ways to regain your children's respect is to show them that your happiness doesn't revolve around them. As parents, it's natural to devote ourselves to our children, to make them the center of our lives. But as we get older, that dynamic shifts. And if you spent your entire life prioritizing them, they may start seeing you as someone who has nothing else going on. People respect those who have their own purpose, their own interests, their own sense of fulfillment. And if your children see that you rely on them for entertainment, validation, or meaning, they might start feeling suffocated. Or worse, they might start seeing you as someone who has no life of their own. I knew a woman named Dorothy, a widow in her late 70s. After her husband passed, she poured everything into her children's lives, checking in constantly, giving advice they didn't ask for, expecting them to fill the space that her husband once did. But instead of drawing them closer, it pushed them away. They visited less, their calls became shorter, and Dorothy felt more alone than ever. Then she made a choice. She joined a book club. She started traveling with friends. She volunteered at a local community center. She stopped making her children the center of her world. And something incredible happened. Her children started reaching out more. They were curious about what she was doing. They admired her independence. They respected her. If your children don't respect you, ask yourself, do they see you as someone with a full, meaningful life? Or do they see you as someone waiting around for their attention? Because when you show them that you are living, not just existing, they will start seeing you in a completely different light. As we come to the end of this discussion, I want you to remember one powerful truth. Respect isn't given. It's earned through how you carry yourself. The relationship between parents and children will always evolve, but your worth never diminishes with age. You've spent years nurturing, guiding, and sacrificing for your children. Now, it's time to nurture yourself. By setting boundaries, withdrawing emotional dependence, and building a fulfilling life beyond your role as a parent, you're not pushing your children away. You're inviting them to see you as the strong, capable, and worthy individual you've always been. Change won't happen overnight, but every small step you take, whether it's saying no, redirecting your energy, or pursuing your own passions, sends a clear message. You demand respect because you respect yourself. So start today. Choose one action from this video and commit to it. Maybe it's stepping back from overgiving. Maybe it's joining that club you've always thought about. Or maybe it's simply speaking up the next time you're dismissed. You are not an afterthought. You are not a burden. You are someone who deserves love, appreciation, and respect. Not because you ask for it, but because you embody it. If this message resonated with you, let us know in the comments. What's the first change you'll make? And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Thank you for watching. And remember, the greatest legacy you can leave your children isn't just your love for them. It's your example of how to honor yourself. Until next time, take care and stand tall.